Hey everyone, welcome to Yoga with Brittany. If you do not have blocks, you do not have a strap, you can use something like a really strong Tupperware that's not going to bend if you put weight on it. Anything that has this shape here. And you can also use a towel or a dog leash in place of a strap. So if you do have those props, I would set them up towards the top of your mat, and I'll show you where we can use these props throughout your class. But if you are ready, let's go ahead and start on your back. So at the beginning of every class, I like to invite my students just to get comfortable, and I will guide you through starting on your back or starting in something like a child's pose. But today we're going to start here. So you can take your feet about hips width distance and then let the knees fall in and kind of rest on each other. This is a constructive rest. And then I'm going to take my left hand to my heart, right hand to my belly. Before we start a physical practice, just kind of check in. Take inventory of what you're bringing with you to your practice today, mentally, physically. Check in with the body, see if there's any tension that you can release. Maybe there's tension in the mind that you can let go of. As you set aside and dedicate this practice to you, all distractions are gone. Just settle in and arrive physically and mentally to this practice. I also like to invite you to set an intention, and what that can be is a phrase or an affirmation that you will recall throughout this practice. It can be one word like strength, stability, love, or it can be a phrase like I have everything that I need, I am strong, I am worthy. Whatever is calling to you, you can set that intention, and we'll just kind of recall that intention all throughout this class. We're going to work with a collective intention of strength. So if you are not able to come up with one on your own, or sometimes we just need a little bit of help, I want to remind you throughout this class that you are strong and that you are able to do this. Everything that you need is already within you. So we'll start to take the legs out long, arms down to your sides, and just breathe. Take an inhale deep into the belly and let it go. Do that again. Breathe in, fill up the belly. Sigh it out. And then you're going to take your arms out long overhead. Call this our good morning stretch, stretching from fingertips to the toes, feeling everything get long. And then everything just kind of release and get heavy into your mat. I want to keep the back of the neck long here so that the chin is tucked a little bit rather than pointing up towards the ceiling. Keep that chin tucked in, back of neck long. And then we're going to bring this left knee into your chest. And I'm going to interlace my fingers over top of my shin. So this right here, especially if you are tight in the back body, this can be a lot. So this is where that strap would come in handy. You would just take the strap and hold it on either side of the leg, or you can use a dish towel to help pull this left knee in closer to the body. Now, while we're doing this, I also want you to actively press that right calf into the mat. So flex into that right foot, press the right calf down, and then begin to flex into this left foot as well. You can play around with a point or a flex. We just like to have some activation in both of the legs, back and neck long. And you'll find that everything we do in yoga has a reason. Everything is activated. And then I'd like to invite you to draw your nose towards your knee. And then slowly release that left leg out long to the mat. I picked the worst day to wear a ponytail. I can't let my head lay flat. And we're going to take this to the other side. So bring that right knee into your chest and release the fingers. If you have it, it can be under the thigh or over the shin, or use that dish towel or strap, whatever you have to help bring that knee in. Left calf is pressing into the mat. Flex through both feet. And just notice where you feel this in your body. Take another breath in as you squeeze. And on the exhale, bring your nose towards your right knee. And then let it all go. Come flat to your back. Both legs out long, and then take the arms up overhead. And now we'll hug both knees into your chest and get into a tiny little ball. Breathe in. And then I'd like to invite you to rock the length of your spine, so back and forth, just a few times to massage through the spine. If this does not feel good for you, that's okay. We're going to make your way into a tabletop. So in no fancy way, swing your legs around into this tabletop position. So you'll see why it's called a tabletop, because you should be able to put like a plate or something on your back, and it resembles a table. Now, to check in with your alignment, your knees are going to be directly underneath your hips. So mine are about hips width distance, maybe a little narrower. And then my hands are directly underneath my shoulders. Draw the belly button up and in rather than sinking in through the bones here. Keep that lift, belly button up and in. We're going to take a cow-cat, which is a pretty standard warm-up for just about every yoga flow. So drop that belly down. You'll start to arch the back, and I want you to lift your chin. You can also tuck the toes here if that feels good. This is your cow pose. So breathe in. And then as you breathe out, we're going to do the exact opposite. Press everything away. Press your spine towards the ceiling, head and neck hang heavy, untuck the toes. Cat pose. Looks like a scared cat, right? Inhale, cow pose. Drop the belly. Tuck the toes if you'd like. Lift your chin. And then exhale, round through the spine. Drop the head and neck. Cat pose. We'll do that again. Drop the belly. Lift the gaze. Breathe in. And then exhale. Round it all away. Cat pose. Breathe in. Drop the belly. Lift the chin. Lift the gaze. This time as you exhale, I want you to tuck the toes. And then send your hips up and back. So really strong grip. This is coming into our downward facing dog, which I will also shorten to down dog often. So anytime I say downward facing dog or down dog, you're going to make this V shape with your body. Now, it's okay if yours looks a little bit more like this. We're going to work into the back body so that way we can open up. But to check in with your alignment, my feet are about hips width distance and my hands are about shoulders width distance. Rooting into my fingertips, pressing my chest towards my thighs, and your heels, if you have the openness, will come down to the mat, straightening through the legs. If this is an absolute no way, bend into the knees as much as you need to. Breathe in and breathe out. We're going to walk to the top of our mat. So I'm going to invite you to come to the balls of your feet. Try to lift those hips and then slowly walk on the balls of your feet to the top of your mat. That will just create a little bit more openness in the back of the legs. And we're going to meet in a forward fold. So grab opposite elbows here. And I want you to let your body hang heavy over these legs. So this is a rag doll. It's okay if yours looks a little more like this. We have to open into the back body to get to this point. So grabbing opposite elbows, the head and neck have to hang heavy here. So if you find yourself gazing down at your mat, drop the head, sway side to side, rag doll. Let this feel good. Breathe in and breathe out. Release your grip. Slowly roll up the spine. I want your head and neck to be the last thing that comes up. And when you get there, just roll through your shoulders, roll through the back body. Let this feel good. We're going to stand in a mountain pose. So mountain pose at the top of your mat, your feet will be about hips width distance. You're going to tuck your pelvis under you, lifting through the kneecaps. Shoulders down the back. Crown of head extends long, palms facing forward. So you can see this mountain pose is extremely activated. I'm even rooting into my feet. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale, both arms up. I want you to grab a hold of your left wrist with your right fingers, and then step your feet together if you have the space. From here, lift up out of your waist. I want you to stretch up and over to the right. So pretend somebody has something underneath your right side that you have to get over. Once you find this side bend, see if you can't draw that left shoulder back a little bit more. Maybe take your gaze up underneath that left arm. So you'll see this will be a little bit more open in the chest and then open through the chin so I can see some space in your neck. Get a little bit deeper. Keep the belly button drawn in. And then come on up, back to middle. Inhale, reach up, and then switch out your grip. Grab a hold of your right wrist with your left fingertips, and then again, stretch up, out of the waist, and then over to the left. So we'll pull that right shoulder back. So rather than rounding, we're bending at the side. Keep the chest open, lift the chin, side bend towards the left. Breathe in, find a little bit more length, and then put the body on straight. Inhale, reach up, and then take your hands to your low back. So we're still facing the front of your mat. You'll notice I'm going to turn and move so that you can see me a little bit easier. Fingers at the low back pointing down, like you're sliding your hands into pockets. So you'll draw those shoulders and elbows together behind you. And then I want you to start to squeeze the glutes and press your hips forward. So this is all it has to be, a very gentle back bend. If you have the space and you want to take this into a deeper back bend, just remember to lift up and then back, keeping the glutes squeezing together, and then put the body on straight. Good work. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, arms up. Watch the fingers as they touch. And then exhale, we're going to forward fold. Come back to this forward fold position, this time without the grip of the elbows. So hang here for just a minute. We're going to lift those hips towards the ceiling. And then we're going to find a halfway lift. So your hands can come to the shins or to the thighs, but just like in that tabletop position, you want to have a flat back here, crown of head extending long. Breathe in. And then on the exhale, we're going to take your hands down and then step your left foot back. So from here, if you need to use your blocks to bring the ground a little bit closer to you, this is why the blocks are here. And then I want you to wiggle that right foot in between the hands. So inhale, exhale, and then slowly drop this left knee, untuck the left toes. So you can have your blocks on whatever height is good for you, whatever works. Drop the hips heavy towards that right heel. Breathe in. And then start to squeeze those inner thighs together. That'll help with your balance as you bring your arms up, biceps in by the ears. This is an Anjaneyasana. So start to lift your chest, squeezing through the thighs as if you could bunch that mat together up underneath you. And then take the hands back down to your mat or to your blocks. Tuck the left toes, pick up the left knee, and then you'll step the right foot back to meet the left and then slowly lower to your knees. So I'm going to get rid of my blocks here because they don't feel very natural to me, but options to have them if you need them. So we're back in this tabletop position, except this time our knees are going to be a little bit further back than where they were. So if you have the strength, you can keep the knees lifted and you'll be in a high plank. We're all going to lower together, so squeeze those elbows into your sides, lower all the way to the mat, and take it slow. When you get here, untuck your toes and place your hands underneath your shoulders. You want your elbows to be drawing together behind you, almost like a grasshopper legs, right? They go back. On the inhale, slowly lift your head, neck, and chest. Baby cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest. Try just using the back muscles, and you can test that by lifting your hands off the mat. Exhale, lower. Do that one more time. This time, lift the hands, breathe in, baby cobra. Keep the feet glued to the mat and slowly lower. Start to press through your hands. Come into this tabletop position. Good work. Find cow pose. So drop the belly, lift the chin, lift the gaze. Exhale, find cat pose. Let it all round through the spine, doming through the shoulders, head and neck hang heavy. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Inhale, cow, tuck the toes, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. So you've been here before. I invite you to what we call pedal this out. So what I'm doing here is lifting up my left heel, my right heel is going towards the mat, and then I switch. So they'll say walk out your dog or pedal out your dog, and that's what we mean here, just switching the weight from one leg to the other. And as you do it, you'll realize how that changes the stretch. You can twist out the hips here as well, taking the hips left to right, stretching into the side body. And then we'll come up to the balls of your feet, and then we'll straight leg and walk to the top of your mat. It's okay if the knees do bend. We're just working on that openness in the hamstrings. Meeting at the top of your mat in a forward fold. I want you to inhale, find a half lift, flat back. And exhale, fold. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, rise all the way up. Watch your fingers as they touch. And then exhale, bring your hands to heart center. This is your mountain pose, but with your hands gathered here. Good. Breathe in. Breathe out. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, reach your arms up. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, finds that half lift, flat back. Exhale, plant the hands. This time the right foot steps back. Keep that left foot in between the hands. So if you need to wiggle that left foot forward, I want your knee and your ankle to be in line here. Oftentimes what I see in class is a lot of this, where the knee is passing the ankle. So shift the hips back, tug the right toes back, and stack that knee to ankle alignment. Option to use your blocks here on whatever level works for you. And then slowly drop that right knee, untuck the toes. Start to squeeze the inner thighs together, almost as if you could pull that mat together up underneath you, and then bring the arms up. Hips get heavy towards that left heel. Anjaneyasana. Bring the biceps in closer to the ears, and you maybe start reaching up and back, almost like you're going to take a back bend. Breathe in. This is a lot for the balance, so keep that belly button up and in. Keep the legs squeezing towards each other. And then slowly take the hands back to the mat, tuck the right toes, pick up the right knee. Step that left foot back to meet the right. You'll be in a high plank. Again, option to stay here in this high plank or slowly drop to both knees. Inhale, we want to slowly shift the body so that the shoulders pass the wrists, and then squeeze the elbows into the sides as you slowly lower to your belly and untuck your toes. Good work. Take the hands up underneath the shoulders. I'm going to give you a couple options here. So on the inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest like we did before, baby cobra. Exhale, release. Maybe you're ready for a little bit more. So we'll press into the hands. I'm going to tug my hips forward and lift into a full cobra. So here in our full cobra, we have our bottom half still on the mat. We're lifting our head, neck, chest, and belly up off the mat, shoulders away from the ears. Maybe take your gaze up and lift your chin. Breathe in. And then the other option, the deeper variation even yet, is by lifting your knees and your thighs off the mat. Keep the hips heavy. This is your upward facing dog. Shoulders away from the ears. Whatever you're in, breathe in. And then exhale, slowly make your way to a tabletop position. Tuck the toes, send the hips up and back. Find downward facing dog. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale comes high to the toes. Option to walk to the top of your mat, or you bend into your knees. As you exhale, take your gaze where you want your feet to land, and you can hop. Whichever way you decided to get there, we'll meet in a forward fold. All right, inhale, half lift, flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale comes all the way up. Watch the fingers as they touch. And exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Good work. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, reach the arms up as you start to sit the hips back. This is a chair pose. So we're going to work on a little bit of refinement here. I want you to take a look down and see if you can see all 10 toes. If you cannot, work on tugging those hip creases back and the knees back a little bit further. Take the gaze up in your chair pose. As you reach up with the upper body, sit low with the lower body. This takes a lot of strength, so just breathe right here. Keep the weight in the heels. Breathe in. Exhale, forward fold. Good work. Breathe in, finds a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands. This time we'll take that left foot back. I want you to stay lifted. And then when you feel strong in your foundation, so strong in both feet, we're going to drop that back heel. So it's going to be at a little bit like a 45-degree angle. Strong in the legs. Bring your arms up. Warrior One pose. So Warrior One is going to feel a little funky to you, especially if you've never done it before. So we're going to refine. Keep those biceps squeezing in by the ears, and then actively work on pulling that right hip crease back. It's okay if this back heel is lifted, especially if you're tighter in the calves and the hamstrings, but just work that heel towards down. Find a gentle back bend as you bend into that right knee. Good. Breathe in. Stay for your exhale. And then we're going to open up to Warrior Two. Okay, so arms are going to come out into this long, beautiful line, teed out arms, and then we're going to pivot this back foot so it's parallel with the short edge of your mat. The right heel is going to be in line with the middle of this left foot. Right toes are pointing forward, left toes are pointing towards the left edge of your mat. Tee out the arms and then bend into this right knee. Take your gaze over that front middle finger, and I want you to work on pulling that belly button up and in and keeping the hips tucked. Inhale. Exhale. And then we'll cartwheel the hands down to frame this right foot. Good work. You'll pivot on the back foot, step the right foot back to meet the left. Again, we're in this high plank option to take this on the knees. So inhale, shifts the body forward. Exhale, lowers all the way to the mat. Untuck the toes. Inhale, baby cobra. If you'd like to take full cobra or upward facing dog, option to do that. Exhale, release. Inhale, pushes up through to table. Begin to tuck the toes. Send the hips up and back. Find downward facing dog. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale comes high to the toes. Bend your knees. You can walk or find that hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift. And exhale, fold. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale comes all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center, mountain pose. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale, reaches the arms up as you sit back in that chair. Feet traditionally are together. My hips are a little bit wider, and I like my feet to be about hips width distance. This is yogi's choice. So tuck in the pelvis, draw that belly button up and in. Make sure you can see all 10 toes. The weight is in the heels. You can wiggle the toes if that helps. Reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back, half lift. This time we'll plant the hands, step that right foot back. You know where we're going. So pivot on that right heel. Dial that right heel down. Strong bend into the left knee. Squeeze the inner thighs as you rise up, Warrior One. Draw that left hip crease back, trying to square off the hips. You can take your hand to your low back and see for yourself. It's a self-assist. If you feel like they are way off, tug that left hip back even more. Biceps are in by the ears. Breathe in. Lift your chest up towards the ceiling, and then open up to Warrior Two. So check in with your alignment right away and take up space. I can't tell you how often I see someone using just about half of their mat. I want you to use as much space as you can, lining up that left heel to the inner middle of the right foot, and then taking a deep bend into that left knee. Tee out the arms, tuck the hips under you, gaze over your front middle finger, drop in. Breathe in. Breathe out, shoulders down the back. And then begin to cartwheel the hands down to frame that left foot. Pivot on the back toes. Step the left foot back to meet the right. Option to come to your knees, always there. Inhale, shifts the body forward. Exhale, bend into the elbows as you lower halfway or all the way. From halfway, you can lift straight up into that upward facing dog or full cobra. So breathe in, breathe out, bend the knees, find tabletop position. Inhale and exhale. So we're going to head into a child's pose. So I want you to decide which of these feels good to you. Traditionally, our knees are kind of close together. You can sit your hips back and let your forehead come to the mat. If you have the openness in the thighs and in the back and in the hips, I'd invite you to take your knees a little bit wider and then let your body come in between the legs. Forehead to the mat. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe deep into the belly. And let it go. From here, I want you to rock back forward to that tabletop position. And then in no fancy way, we're going to swing your legs around, coming into this seat. Now this is also where your block would come in handy. If this sitting like this is too much, take this block up underneath your bum and elevate the hips a little bit, and that'll give you some space. So inhale, take the arms up. I want you to tug the toes back towards your face. Exhale, start to reach with your chest towards your toes. Breathe in, find a little bit more length. Exhale, fold. It's okay if you get nowhere near folding in half. Some days it's there, some days it's not. So just breathe. Sink a little bit closer, drawing the belly closer to the thighs, chest closer to the toes, and then slowly come back to your seat. I'm going to remove my block and scoop my bottom up to meet my heels, and slowly make your way onto your back. Good work. When you get there, so I'm going to move my block out of my way, I want you to tee out your arms. And then I want you to kind of shimmy your hips over to the left. So you're going to be laying kind of crooked, a little bit diagonal here. So your hips are off to the left. I want you to let your knees fall to the right. And then your gaze off to the left. So we're in a supine twist here. You can decide if this is too much, take a block up underneath that leg and allow it to rest there. If it's not enough, you can cross your left leg over your right and do a twisted root. You decide. So supine twist, gaze and knees are going opposite direction. Slowly bring it back up to the middle. This time I want you to pick your hips up and take them off to the right as far as they'll go, and let your knees fall to the left. Gaze off to the right. Start bringing your knees back up to the middle. And then we're going to take a reclined butterfly. So if you have your blocks here and you know you're going to need them, go ahead and slide blocks underneath, let's see, both legs. So bring the soles of your feet together. Let the knees fall out wide. And your blocks can go up underneath the thighs here at any level, or even up underneath the knees. If you have the openness to stay right like this, stay right like this. Left hand to your heart, right hand to your belly. I just want you to breathe. Call forth that intention that you set throughout your practice. Remember that you are strong and you do have everything that you need already within you. One more big breath into the belly. Sigh it out. And then take your hands underneath the thighs. Let the knees come back together. And then we're going to take your legs out long. This is your corpse pose, your final pose, your Shavasana. So all we do here is we take some time to meditate. If meditation is in your practice, if not, I just want you to lay here and feel what it feels like to be alive and in your body today. Congratulate yourself. Send a little gratitude to yourself for carrying you through that practice, especially if yoga is not your thing or isn't your thing yet. You did just put in a lot of work. You did just do the yoga. So send a little gratitude to yourself. Take note of how your body feels. Taking inventory like we did at the beginning of class, hopefully you feel a little lighter, a little more open, maybe a little bit more energetic. Maybe that wiped you out. Just notice. And then I would like to invite you to stay here for as long as you possibly can, just soaking in all the work that you just did. And if you are ready to go on about your day, bring your hands together, let the palms touch, thumbs touch, fingertips touch. It was my honor to practice with you. Go in peace, love, and light. Namaste.